Hello everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 13 of the Stationeers Let's Play. We are exactly where we left off in the last episode. So I'm getting ready to start laying pipe for the air filtration. This is the T intersection where it comes from the furnace. It also connects to this tank, which is kind of like a buffer basically for the air pressure. I think what I might do is, I was thinking I could set up a T intersection right there, but no, well, a three-way corner, possibly, and run the pipe out away from that, and just keep this as an extra. Let's see, will that three-way corner work? Yeah, see that right there should work just fine. All right, let's do it. So we need to remove that. And put that in. Yeah. And look at that black pipe. That's cool, right? Oh, I love the black pipe. It looks so good. I wish you could click and drag. That would be convenient. Here's my eventual plan. I don't know that I'm going to do it quite yet. I want to get the air filtration set up first. But the danger is the heat of the, let me get rid of that. The heat of the furnace exhaust that's in here. The furnace exhaust comes in and it can be super hot. Sometimes we have that thing up to 1500 degrees and stuff. So it can be really hot once it gets into here. Well, if it's that hot and you start running it through the air filtration system and then using the gases, it's still going to be pretty hot. And then if you're in a room where temperature matters, you're going to have an issue when you're trying to use the extremely hot air and then trying to cool it. So eventually what I'd like to do is have this come out, maybe have a separate room over here where I'm going to fall. Wow, look at this hole. I kind of want to go on an expedition. I haven't been down there in a while. I forgot about it. But anyway, sorry about that. I was thinking maybe I would build this out and have a separate room, maybe down in the hole, who knows, a separate room that would just be for cooling the air in the pipes. So basically this would come out, go down, get all cooled to a regulated temperature of my choosing. I don't know what it would be at this point, probably somewhere around 20 degrees Celsius if I could. And then have it come back up and then go into the air filtration. That's my eventual plan. Whether we get to it or not, who knows? So what I think I'm going to do, though, is for future planning, I'm going to put that T intersection in there. So I want it to come down here and move and get cooled. And I believe the way that the gases work, temperature works a lot like pressure as far as the gases are concerned. And what I mean by that is if we look here, we don't have the Atmos analyzer. So let's, the battery in this thing's going to need switch soon. We can do that with our super cool nuclear batteries. Okay, so let's turn this bad boy on. Okay. Now we see the pipe network. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. We see the pipe network 41 right here. Here it's, find my cursor. Oh, that sun is really glaring on me. Right here, there's no pressure in that pipe. And then here it's network 41, which that's connected to the furnace as well as all of this. And that has a temperature of over 1,000 degrees Celsius. So crazy, right? And then it has a mix of different gases in there. But if you look, no matter where, I look here, and I look down here, pressure is 25.88, and it's over 1,000 degrees. If I go on there, 25.87, over 1,000 degrees. So basically, what this is showing us is that no matter where on the pipe the gas connects, it will eventually equalize out in both pressure. So the pressure here will eventually be the same as the pressure here and in the tank. Okay? So that'll all equalize, but the temperature will also equalize. So you can see it's moving One, it's cooling because, it's 0 degrees Celsius out here. So it's slowly cooling it. But basically what I'm getting at is, in the way the game is set up so far, put this away. The way the game is set up so far, if you have cooling or heating set up on your pipe, it doesn't matter where it's set up. It's going to equalize through the gases through the whole pipe. So in other words, if I have this over here that's 1,000 degrees, okay, and I built this pipe out and went out like, halfway across the moon over there with this pipe, if I ran clear over here, measured, and it was 1,000 degrees, and I ran all halfway across to the other end and measured, it would be 1,000 degrees. So it would be equalizing that temperature. What I'm getting at with that is it should mean, and again, this is not something I've done too much of, but it should mean that if I have this T intersection here, the gas, the pressure and temperature of these gases is coming through, and it will go this way and get into the air filtration, but it will also be connected this way into the coolant area that I make, however I set that up. That coolant area will then cool everything in the pipes that it's connected to, not just its own area, because it always equalizes. So it would be cooling just this area, but the temperature gets equalized throughout all of it. I guess I'm trying to think of how I can explain this better. You don't think of it as flow. Okay? So don't think, it's like, say it's water. Okay? And say you had boiling water right here, and you had the boiling water travel down the pipe and then go through and get cooled down here. But that was down here, like past this intersection. Otherwise, the boiling water comes here, and some goes that way, some goes that way, and then this stuff down here would be cooled. Well, this water coming out here, going into this area, would still be boiling. Okay? With the gases, the way the game works, that is not the case. It will equalize the temperature. So if the temperature is 1,000 degrees right here, we take it down and we have the cooling. And the cooling, or I shouldn't say right here, if it comes out of the furnace, say, at 1,000 degrees. Okay? But we have the cooling over here, take it down to 0 degrees. Okay? What's going to happen is all this is going to balance out. So the 1,000 degrees that's coming out of the furnace will connect to the gases and will equalize with the 0 degrees here. And so we should get a median temperature. I don't know if that would be 500 degrees. But it should cool it down. Okay? And now when the furnace is not outputting that high temperature gas, it would just continue cooling the pipes until they eventually reached 0 degrees Celsius. Until, boom, I fire up the furnace, and now, 1,000 degrees comes out of it again, and now the whole pipe network gets heated up, not just from the furnace to the cooling area or whatever. So it's different than the water flow example I was given. And that's something to keep in mind in the future for cooling and stuff like that. Let's see. I want to go ahead and replace the battery in this before I forget. I think I'll just take a large standard battery, which is still going to be better than this little tiny small battery that I have in here. So now I've got a charged battery in this thing. Okay, back to our pipes. These awesome black pipes. I love these. So anyway, that's going to be for future cooling that we should be able to just plug in and have it working for the whole system because of the way I just poorly explained how the temperature works in the piping. So let's bring it down this way. So this tank right here is operating as basically a buffer. So when it's connected, it's part of that whole pipe system. So again, with the equalization thing, the pressure that is now right here in this piece of pipe I just laid is approximately the same as what is in the tank. In fact, you can see the tank's pressure has been dropping That's because I've been adding pipe, so it's equalizing the pressure. And since the more pipe you lay, the lower the pressure is going to get because it equalizes all the way out. So it doesn't mean the pipe just becomes the same pressure. So if this, say, for instance, this pressure is 30,000, and you connect a bunch of pipe like this, each section of pipe can hold a certain volume of gas at a certain pressure. So every section you drop means gas comes out of this tank and equalizes throughout it, like it fills in the vacuum. So that does not mean that this would still be 30,000, and then when you lay this, now this would be 30,000. Instead, it would basically be each piece of pipe you lay would lower the pressure here a little bit, but if the pressure here got lowered to 25,000, then that means in every section of pipe, the pressure is 25,000. Or eventually would get to 25,000, because it does take a little bit of time. Like each game tick, it does so much equalization of temperature and pressure. So anyway, we're out of black pipes. So we'll use our little trick here to make more. So I have that pipe. I have this stack of 20. I need to make a space for the one there. So we'll split one. Okay, and then drop this guy. So there's the yellow. This one yellow, do we have any space in those? We don't, so I'll just put a single yellow there. All right, grab this black, grab that, and now we have another stack of 20 black. So we're just moving this through, and remember, each time we lay this, it's a buffer. So anyway, what I was getting at, sorry, I distracted myself by describing the pressure and equalization and stuff. But this tank is part of the reason I got into that is it's part of the entire pipe network. Okay, so the pressure here should be approximately the same as the pressure here. However, and here's the part that's really tough to grasp a lot of times, the tank can hold a higher volume of gas. So what I mean by that is if I were to remove this tank and then push more gas into these pipes, the pressure in these pipes could get pretty high. The pipe pressure where it usually would blow is somewhere around 60,000 kPa. So, but it would raise really, really fast. But if I rehooked an empty tank up, which can hold a lot of volume of gases, the pressure in all these things would go way down because then a lot of the volume of gas would fill this tank. It can be very confusing because pressure and volume are two different things. They can affect each other. Like the more volume there is in a small area, the higher the pressure is going to be. However, it's tough to grasp that. So basically what I'm getting at is if you have pipes that are close to their bursting level, throw a tank on there. Like connect it up and throw a tank on there, and that's going to help tremendously. But if you disconnect the tank and continue to add gases to the pipe, now it's only if you add. So for instance, this is the pressure here is, let's just say 17,000. That means it's 17,000 through this whole pipe network. If I were to disconnect this tank right now, it would still be 17,000 throughout the pipe network because it's equalized. It's 17,000 here, completely separate, like if I moved it over here, and then 17,000 in here. So it wouldn't harm you to take this off. But then if I put an empty one on, what's going to happen is it would be completely empty, and the vacuum inside of it, since it's empty, would pull a lot of the volume of all these pipes into it. So the pressure of both the tank and the pipes would go down significantly. So what I'm getting at, again, to repeat myself for like the fifth time, if you have a situation where the pressure's getting too high and you want kind of an emergency solution, but you don't want to lose the gas, like one thing you can do is add a passive vent on the end and just let it all vent out to space. That's certainly a solution, but you lose all the gas. So if you want to keep the gas, but kind of have an emergency, oh crud, it's going to blow, I need to fix this, put an empty tank on there. So you might want to build, like this is my portable oxygen tank from the start of the game, but you might want to build like a second tank and just like an emergency situation. Like if you notice it gets too high, crud, put the empty tank on and that's going to alleviate. Now, if the the problem is consistent where it's getting high. In other words, you're inputting gases into your system often enough that it keeps getting high and keeps getting high, and you keep having to add tanks, then obviously you need to think of something else, some other way to handle the situation. And I will set something up that I believe will help with that for my purposes. But we'll get there eventually. All right. Sorry, I'm getting pretty long-winded, aren't I? Yeah. In other words, it's a normal episode. All right. So let's go here to our filtration. So now we know this is going to be the input. The input of the air filtration is the backside, which is the left of my screen right now. If I turn it this way, then the input would come in there. Filters would go right there in the front. So it would just be power that would be on this backside. So I'm thinking I don't need it to be that big in here. So what I might do, since I already put the pipe to there, is just go there. And I might move this, we'll see. So that would mean this gas input could go to the filtration input here. I have to have power hooked up to the back side. I will have to have the waste come out this side, and then the output come out this way. Which should work. Now that was the black piping because that's like quote unquote all gases. Now there's a couple different ways to do that. I can't remember. I think I may have mentioned it in another episode briefly, but you have a couple different choices here. I could run this black pipe like basically along here, along the backside, and connect the air filtration system up so they're all connected to the same input, which would mean the gases in this pipe would come through here and get sucked in by this air filtration unit. And then, let's pretend the map's turned. Let me grab another one of these just to explain this a little bit more clearly. They're not going to go this close together, but just for the sake of description, this is something that some other people have suggested to me. That is a good way to do it. I cannot elaborate on whether it is or isn't a good way to do it because I've never done it this way, but I have seen problems with it. But it might have been just the way we set it up. But anyway, like this. So this would be a parallel connection, meaning the gas is getting connected to both these filtration systems at the same time in parallel. Okay. That seems pretty quick. So this one would start, let's pretend this is the oxygen and this is CO2. Okay. So this would take oxygen and spit it out into a tank or wherever we wanted to put it, and this would spit out CO2. And then the waste would then just immediately get connected right back in to the pipe system. Whether it be hooked right here or all the waste then goes, clear back to like this end down here and then goes through, I'm not sure. That seems like a quick way to process this gas because it's being processed in 1, 2, eventually 6, all at the same time, basically. Here's the problem I see with this situation, and I may be wrong about this, but this is the problem that I see. If you were to do it that way, each machine is only pulling out its single gas type, and the rest, the waste, gets put back into the system, and so it has to go back through yet again. And here's what would happen. Like, say this is the oxygen one. The waste would come out, even if I connected it way over there, or if I just went whoop, and hooked it right to here, it wouldn't matter. This waste comes out. Now, there's no oxygen in the waste that's coming through here. However, there's no guard that sits in this junction and says, only go into this if you have oxygen in you. So in other words, the waste would come out here, get combined here. So say there's 10% O2 in the gases in the pipes, coming out of, like, say, the furnace or whatever. Say there's 10% O2 in this whole line. It gets pulled in here. This pulls out the 10%. So there's 90% of what is left comes out with no O2 in it and gets inserted immediately back into it. Well, it depends on the volumes, but that's gonna lower the amount of oxygen in this pipe by, I don't know, just arbitrary value, say it's 2%. So now there's 8% oxygen equalized in the whole thing. But this is going to come right through, and then it's come here. And, it's just going to keep rotating, and each time pull out a smaller and smaller percent of oxygen as it rotates through. Well, that is happening. That's great. But then this gas is doing the same thing with the CO2. And then the next one, same thing with whatever it is, all 6 of them. That seems like it should work. However, I would think you would get, and this is where I could be wrong, diminishing returns, meaning the longer it's going, the less it's really helping, having them in parallel. Okay? And here's the danger of having them in parallel. And we ran into this during one of my streams where I had hooked it up with a serial connection, which is what I will eventually do in this Let's Play. I had hooked it up in a serial manner, so it was well, you'll see. Never mind. I'd hooked it up differently, so the gas would go in one, come out, and then go in the other, and not in them both. But someone, when I was offline, had someone in my chat suggested to one of the players that was also playing on the server as multiplayer that this is a better way, this parallel, because their mindset was now you're processing more gas all at once. Okay. I believe, and again, I might be wrong, that mindset is incorrect, because what happened was they hooked that up. The next time I got on, I saw it, and I was like, well, I don't understand this system as well. I'd rather not have it that way. And the person that made the changes was like, no problem. And they went through and removed everything and got it back to the way I had it. Well, one little piece of pipe, the waste of the very last filtration unit, was still connected to the input. And what happened was we had a fire in the room, and it had melted a filter of one of the filtration units, and it wouldn't even matter which one it did, because what was happening is, since one of the filtration units was not pulling out the gas it was supposed to pull out and put into a different storage area, it was pumping that gas back through. So in other words, whatever it was, the volume it was pulling in here was the same as what was coming out. However, there was still a volume being added as everything was going through the system. Like, people were putting their canisters in and inserting it, or we were running the furnace and it was adding gases to the system. But this one certain gas type, which in our case, I can't remember, it may have been water actually, but I'm not sure. But one certain gas type, which filter had disappeared, was getting pumped through, and it was never being pulled out. So we kept adding pressure to the system, and eventually what happened was this pipe that was just running through here burst, because this was outputting so much pressure into that pipe, and it wasn't getting used up. It was just kept building up. And we had a huge blow up in the base. So that's why I don't necessarily like this system, is there's too many issues like that where that sort of thing could happen. Because you're literally recycling the air or the gases that you don't process right back in. And so this machine right here that I'm sitting on has to process the oxygen in the same gases multiple times before it pulls all the oxygen out of it, So let's say, well, never mind. So that makes sense, right? It has to go through it a bunch of times. Whereas the way I'm going to hook it up, it would go through one time, and it would just then have to keep going through. I'm not claiming that my way is any better or faster. Like, this one would certainly be faster in the beginning, because all the machines would turn on immediately and be processing gas. Whereas the way I'm about to set it up, the second machine wouldn't start processing gas until after the first machine did. So at the very beginning, they would all process individually. So it would be like turn on, wait, turn on, wait, turn on, wait, turn on, So it would be a slower startup process. But once they were all running, the speed at which you were processing gases would be the same as doing it in parallel like this. In my understanding, the way I envision it. So anyway, that's the story. I don't know if I explained it properly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Actually, I'm not sorry. I just hope you understood it. All right, so we're going to hook this up, and I know it's actually a different one than before, but I'm going to go ahead and take this guy down. All right, so we've got him hooked up. We've got filters that'll go here. The waste is going to come out this side. So this is where we have to kind of pay attention to what we're doing. This is the line that has all the gases. This is our black. Okay? And we're going to want more black eventually when we add the cooling and stuff like that. So I'm going to just set that right there. However, let's what should we make this? It doesn't really even matter. What's this? Oxygen. We'll make this the oxygen. Okay, that's like a cyan color. Do we have? I don't think we have a cyan paint. So let's see if we can make spray paint. Black, blue, brown, green, gray, khaki, orange, pink, purple, red, white, yellow, and that was it. So oxygen is not going to, like the filter color is not going to match. So let's just make it white. So let's make a white can. All right, so good enough. I think there may have been a white can up there already, but this was closer. I don't know. So we've got our white paint here. Let's grab, we have our single pipe. No, I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we have a whole stack or just one, but we're going to paint that white. And for now, I'm setting them here. I know I should set up a second locker and keep them in there. All right, but I know that I want to split one off. All right, because I don't want to waste that. Put it there. And, oh, you know what? We didn't split one off with our black. Let's do that right now so that we have a single black and a single white. All right, so again, this is one of those things that you don't necessarily have to do, but it can make it easier. Once you have the whole thing built up, it can make it easier to determine what should be in each pipe without having to use your analyzer the whole time. But what I want to do is this. I want to have the output come somewhere over here where I'm going to have a tank set up, which we will grab right now. Okay. So I'm going to have my tank set up, and I want to have my tank set up somewhere back here. All right. The cool thing about the tanks is you can turn them, and you can place them anywhere. Okay. So like in my stream, when I built my very first air filtration ever, I actually built the tank like this above, and it worked great because it was the filtration, and that just went straight up to the tank. Maybe I'll do that again. Let's see. Well, that's not the one I wanted. Right? No, one more. There. So if I do that tank, the tank's already white by default, so I don't have to paint it. But if I do it this way, as weird as that looks, once I fill in a ceiling and everything, it won't look so bad. Okay. But if I do it this way, then that means I can bring the output here and have the pipe go up and connect to right there. And then this whole vertical section of pipe, I have space to add anything I need. Like for instance, I'll probably want to add a pipe T-junction with a regulator and a canister, so I can fill a canister with pure oxygen whenever I want. And I'm going to have like an emergency release and all that stuff. So actually, now that I look at this, I see that it's off center, and that's gonna bug me and other people watching it, which makes me think maybe I should leave it that way. But nope, that's for my stream. Bugging people's for my stream. For YouTube, I'll try not to. So I think what I want to do actually is plan ahead and do a T-junction No, do I want to do a T-junction? Maybe I do that three-way corner again. That's kind of a cool looking right there, the three-way junction. Yeah, I'll do that. All right. So the pipe, or the oxygen is going to come out here. And we want a straight connection to it coming up here. And a straight coming out here. Now, the thing to remember is pipes and cables can cross, but not if either of them is a corner. So if I place this down right here, that works, and I can put a straight through there. Like that. And then I can put a straight cable eventually there. So that tells me I'm okay if I set it up this way. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just wanted to test because I want to make sure I can connect the power without other stuff getting in the way. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to have this pipe wrap this way and come up over the top. Or do I want to do that? Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe instead, I'm sorry, I'm not being very clear. I need to set up a canister so I can fill oxygen from this whenever I want, because this will be connected to the main tank that'll have the oxygen in it. So I want to set up a way so that I can bring in a canister, stick a canister in, and fill it with oxygen right away. And then grab the canister and use it however I see fit. Okay, so that's one thing I want to do. So there's one exit I need from the oxygen. So one exit is this one vertically, and it goes to a tank. And another one would go to a canister. Well, there needs to be a third. And what the third is for emergency type situations. What I mean by that is, what happens if I'm processing gases and it turns out that this tank and the piping right here gets so much pressure in it that it's over the 60,000 and these pipes are going to burst. Well, I need to have a safety valve set up so that if it detects it's getting close to 60,000, it will release oxygen and take some pressure out of that system. That way we don't have blown pipes. So I need to do that. That's, a necessary safety thing. But however, it might not occur for a very, very long time. And maybe, I blew that pipe, let's just release some and then rebuild it. Might not be that much of an issue, but I figure better safe than sorry. So I actually need 3 outputs. One going to the tank, one going to a canister to fill, and one going to a safety valve. So I need to decide. I'm thinking actually what I might do is make the safety valve this part, which means I want the canister to be here. Let's set this up. There. And then I'm thinking what I do is I do a T-junction this way. And then I can set up a pressure regulator. Do I have one here? There it is. So I set up a pressure regulator going, if I can figure out how to turn it. There we go. One more there. So if I can set up a pressure regulator going this way, then what that's going to do is I can set this to tell it to fill a canister over here. Oh, whoops. So I have a canister storage. I can't put it right next to it, so I actually have to put this pipe straight like that. But then I can connect a canister here like this. Okay? Because you can't put the canister right next to a regulator. You have to have one section of pipe in between. But by doing it this way, I can have this canister as I need O2. Just go grab it really quick and go running off, giggling like a schoolgirl. Okay? But I also have it so that this will go up, and then I'll have my tank up there. So let's grab the tank, and I need to place it so that the tank at some point there, now it's right side up, now it's upside down. Okay, I could go right side up, that would work. Maybe I should. The only reason upside down is cool, in my opinion, which might be wrong, is you can have the tank kind of hanging down, and then you can have the ceiling closing it off, so you only see part of the roundness of the tank. I don't know, not that big of a deal. Maybe I should go this way. I did the tank thing that way before. All right, so the tank is there, ready to go. So we want to set up, this might be too low, but let's try a corner like this, and then switch to the tank and see if we can connect it there. So it'd be like that. So that looks, I don't know, seeing the bottom of the tank like that looks a little strange to me. However, we could build the roof of the building so that that's all covered and you don't even see the tank. That would work just fine. But if you wanted to see the tank, then for me personally, I would rather it be upside down so that you see the round part just because it looks cooler, in my opinion. But this will work. This will work just fine. So this would be our general setup. So what we would need to do is then take this, and because we're going to need power going up to this pressure regulator. Okay? But we're also going to need power going to whatever mechanism we set up for a back pressure regulator. So we actually need the three-way corner right here. Oh, no, that won't work either. So we actually need we can't do the four-way. So it looks like the six-way is our best bet. So it's a little bit wasteful because we're not going to use the thing down probably, however we certainly could, but we'll use the one coming up to connect to this, and then we'll use this one to connect to whatever mechanism we have for powering everything, and then this will be like just the main power line that runs down all of them. So let's connect this up. Straight cable. Whoops, there it is. And then this one, well, let's do a corner. Oh, are we going to have space for this corner? We may have made it too close. There you go. It's not going to work this way because we put this too close to the top of our filter, our filtration system. So it will not work that way. So we have two options. Turn this so that the cable actually comes out the back side. So it would come out like here. Okay, so we could turn that so it comes out, but then this thing would be facing straight down, and it might be a little awkward getting to it. So I kind of like it facing straight out. But if we want it to face straight out and be like aligned this way, we have to move all of this up one spot. Okay, so we're going to definitely need to do that, I think, because I would rather be able to stand right here and see everything. So we're going to have to move all of this up. And when we move all of this up, one option we're going to have is to turn this down. So we'll need to redesign this, but you get the general idea of how it's going to work. Okay, the next thing we're going to have is a black pipe coming out here because it's multiple things in it. It was our black code. We'll come out here and come over to another filtration setup that'll be over here. Okay? And we'll continue that in the next episode. It could take us 3 or 4 episodes to get through this filtration system, especially at the rate I'm talking and being indecisive. But we have run out of time for this episode, so we will fix this up in the next one. I thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I appreciate the comments I'm getting. It's really helping me out. And it's nice. It's nice to talk to people and see that people are enjoying enjoying the episodes. But yeah, feel free. Give me input. Let me know that I messed something up. That's going to help me go back and fix it. And it's going to help other people watching the Let's Play that may make the same mistake whenever I correct it in a following episode. So I really appreciate that. Keep it coming. And again, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.